Well, welcome in once again to another Johnny Torch live broadcast number 230. We had one not too long ago, actually. We did the Bullets Bourbon number 10th anniversary party a couple of days ago. That's actually getting a lot of views, so check that one out. Well, by my standards, it's getting a lot of views. But we've got a Torch News Roundup for you today. We're going to talk about some news in the world of pop culture. That is Torch News Roundup number 272. We're going to take a look at nothing but trailers today because I've been a bit remiss. I don't think we talked about the Ant-Man trailer, the Quantumania trailer, when it came out about a month ago. And I don't remember talking about Shazam, Fury of the Gods, so we'll throw that in too. But of course, the new trailers are Indiana Jones 5 and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which I'm sure I'll have a lot to say about those two. But let's start. Well, first, let me request of you. May I ask this of you? Please like, share, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed already, our subs are stagnating. I know I haven't done too many videos lately because I've had to get a new laptop and all the problems therein. If you haven't been following along, that's the reason why that I'm having some issues getting the next book out, because I'm having to basically get all new equipment. So it's kind of put a crimp in the scheduling of these videos. So we're kind of making up for it by doing, like, we did like about 3 or 4 within the past couple of weeks. So we're trying to get back on track, as it were. As I always say, at the end of the year, there's not too many because holidays and so forth are going to keep us busy. But if you have it within your kindness to share, like, subscribe, do all the wonderful things that I know you people would love to do for me, make sure you do it for your Uncle Johnny Torch here. And let's start off with Shazam Fury of the Gods, because again, I might frankly have already talked about this one. I don't know. I looked at the last 2 or 3 Torch News roundups. I don't think I talked about it, but if I did, it was probably not much because I don't have a whole lot to say about this one. This is when is this coming out? It's coming out next year. That's pretty much all I know about it. They're still leaning on that very jokey type formula Zachary Levi, of course, is so good at. And I think his charisma is going to carry this one a bit. The rest of the kids / adults, they look pretty good. You know, this is where we left them in the last film, where they're all members of the Shazam family now. They all have powers when calling upon Shazam. And the villains, of course, are going to be Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu. If I remember correctly, that's the villains. We're not going back to Mr. Mind, which I'm kind of disappointed in, actually. I thought that was going to be a really good villain. And, of course, Dr. Sylvana would probably come back in that scenario. Having just seen Black Adam, well, having just seen it a couple of weeks ago, again, it's disappointing that tonally these 2 franchises, they seem to be like separate franchises. There's nothing really to interconnect them. I mean, we have the jokey kind of, again, big with powers going up against sort of the Fast and Furious-esque, I guess, with The Rock in Black Adam. I really hope these 2 can get together. You know, with the underperformance, so to speak, of Black Adam, I'm wondering just how much they're going to rejigger the plan, because I was hoping that this was going to culminate in Black Adam and Shazam either crossing over, or Black Adam being the villain, or just having some kind of big film that was going to have the both of them in it, with probably Superman guest starring. Of course, if you've seen Black Adam, and, you know, spoilers if you haven't, Superman does make an appearance. Henry Cavill, I think that's the worst kept secret in pop culture right now, is that Henry Cavill is going to be back in one form or another as Superman, be it in a Superman film, be it in a Black Adam film, maybe, as I'm suggesting, showing up in the 3rd act of a Shazam, the 3rd Shazam film, possibly. But again, it's tough to tell exactly what they're planning. Now, these both franchises here, the Black Adam franchise and the Shazam 2 franchise here, it's interesting because they both have Shazam the Wizard involved, because he gave creation to both of these heroes / anti-heroes. And I don't know exactly how they're going to tie that in together at some point, because you would think that they would have to have some kind of interconnectivity, that this is all going on under one roof. Of course, James Gunn, I don't have the quote in front of me, but he did stress that there is going to be a cohesion for the DC universe going forward. And that, he said, also includes animation and video games, which, that's kind of interesting. I don't know if he's talking about they're all going to be under one timeline or something, or is this going to be maybe separate timelines, but they're all going to fit into a timeline? No more, cherry picking what you're going to do with animation. We're going to have a strict animation timeline. That would be great if they could do that with the already established animated series. But again, I digress. So, there's not much to say here. It looks like it's picking up where the last film left off. There's dragons that they're fighting, and then all the kids have powers. And it looks like maybe the adoptive parents there, or the foster parents, kind of know the secret by the end. They're trying to keep it on the down low at first. Again, Helen Mirren as the villain. I don't know. I mean, she's a classically trained actress. I'm sure she'll do fine. Again, not really. It's not really that exciting to me as having, sort of a villain that could go toe to toe with him. That's why Black Adam really is so necessary in the Shazam films, because you're looking at it. We've got Helen Mirren, we've got Dr. Sylvana. None of these characters on the page were really that physically formidable. I mean, I don't know about Helen Mirren's character too much. I guess that's going back to sort of Greek mythology or something. So that's going to belie her powers, just in the same way they gave Dr. Sylvana powers. I'm sure they're going to give him a formidable fight. But again, I feel like his only real well-known villain that can go toe-to-toe with him is Black Adam. And it's going to be disappointing if they don't get them together at some point and sort of pay off this whole... It's almost like having Venom in 3 films and then never having him interact with Spider-Man. That's kind of my fear for like the next Venom film. I thought the first one was good. I thought the second one was, it was adequate, but you kind of really want to have Venom meet Spider-Man at some point. And I think that's the way I feel about Black Adam and Shazam. I don't want to see both these, I keep saying franchises, but characters that are superficially connected, wither on the vine, so to speak. And of course, the costumes look good. Some people are complaining about them. I don't know. I think these look a little bit better. I think I prefer the cape with the hood. I think they got rid of the hood for Shazam. But apart from that, I think it looks pretty good. So let me know what you think in the comments below. What are your feelings on Shazam, Fury of the Gods? And that one, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure is coming out next year. I think they moved everything down. Also, Aquaman 2 is going to be out next year. As well as, I guess, The Flash. Is that still on the cards? I think so. All right, moving on. We will take a look at Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. This is the 3rd film in the Ant-Man series. And the second one featuring the Wasp. And now it's become a family affair, as Cassie Lang is now part of the family. I don't know what her code name is, but she's apparently going to also be in the excitement. And this trailer came out a while back, about a month ago, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really funny. You had the guy calling him Spider-Man, and he's sort of enjoying his notoriety now as a superhero. And, as these things are wont to happen, a catastrophe is in the works that causes the Lang family to get together, of course, with the wonderful Michelle Pfeiffer, of course, returning, and Michael Douglas returning. And I really like, I really enjoy when they do something like that, where they have a whole family involved, because you really don't see that too often in the superhero realm. I mean, we have Fantastic Four, which I hope will play into that to some extent, but this is kind of the first time I've ever seen this, and certainly the first time in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where we kind of have this whole family being involved. I don't like the Wasp's hairdo. I prefer if they went back to the first film, if they were going to give her short hair. This is like ridiculously short and not particularly becoming, in my opinion. But the costumes still look great, and I don't know if I think I may have said this before, but I don't know if the haircut is sort of a reflection on her being anti-vax, and maybe this is their punishment. I don't know. But of course, the great legendary Bill Murray makes an appearance in the trailer, and we get to see him. I don't know exactly what he's doing in this film, but he's always fun, even when he's not, even when he's not particularly funny. But I have a feeling they're going to play up his comedic chops for this appearance, probably. And they're in some kind of hidden universe or some hidden world within the quantum realm. And apparently, something that Janet, right? Is Janet, that's Michelle Pfeiffer's character, that she knows something about this, that she hasn't really spilled the beans yet. Or what do the kids say these days? Spill the tea. And this is going to be pretty exciting. Now, a lot of people are thinking that Scott is going to die in this film. I don't really know where they get that. Maybe because this is obviously the most ambitious Ant-Man film in the franchise. They're going big. The villain is literally Kang, who is sort of going to be their Thanos for this next phase. He's the real deal. He means business. So let me take a look here. I think I've got the image of Kang still. They're actually going to have him look like Kang, at least at one point in the film, which is comforting. He's looked pretty, I'm going to admit it, pretty underwhelming up until this scene. He seems like a very quiet, mild-mannered guy. And if you've seen Loki, that's kind of a slapstick take on the character that they were using. I don't know. I really don't know what to expect. I don't think they're going to kill off Scott, although I think also, what's the actress's name that plays the Wasp? She said something hinting that this was going to be her last appearance as the Wasp. Again, this could be more backstage stuff that it's not, it's sort of not proper to have the kind of beliefs and opinions that she has if you're in Hollywood. That might be the reason why she foresees this as being her last film. Could it be that members of this family are going to get killed off? I don't know. I personally don't think so. I think you leave Ant-Man alone and you make him sort of the lighthearted character that he's supposed to be and not really wrestling with deaths in the family and him getting killed off and what have you. I could be wrong. But because the stakes are so high, of course, Kang being the big bad that he is, the main villain of the next phase, how does Scott get out of this? How do any of them get out of this with their lives? Well, that's what we're going to have to find out when we see Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. They don't show it in the trailer, but apparently they got MODOK in this film too, and he's not going to look the way that he's traditionally looked, which is kind of disappointing. If that isn't, of course, the case, but I don't know if that's been confirmed. So at least he's got this mask thing or whatever that makes his face blue that he's going to wear at some point in the film, Kang. Excited about that, I suppose. I'm looking forward to this film. A lot of people are kind of on the fence about the MCU going forward, and I have to admit, this is the one that I'm looking forward to. There really isn't a whole lot to hang your hat on, I'll be honest, but I think this one's going to be a good one. And Phase 4 was very underwhelming. I don't want to say it was a disaster the way that a lot of people are saying, because I really liked Multiverse of Madness. I thought that was a great film. Nobody can convince me otherwise. And of course, we have No Way Home, which that succeeded mostly on the strength of the nostalgia of bringing back the two original, if we could call them that, two original Spider-Men in live action from the films. So it wasn't an abject failure, but, Phase 4 really was a step down from what was going on in the MCU prior. And hopefully this maybe will signal that we're going to start ramping it up again. We went through that kind of transitional phase, and now we're going to get to Secret Wars. We're going to get to the Kang Dynasty, and we might actually get some good stuff in the next phase. Of course, we got Captain America, the New World Order. I don't probably have much faith for that, but who knows? Maybe the Avengers films will change all that. We will have to wait and see. All right, so let me know what you think. Give me your comments. Give me all of them below. And I'm like I said, I'm pretty optimistic about Ant-Man and the Wasp. I liked the first two films. A lot of people kind of poo-pooed the second one, Ant-Man and the Wasp. I thought that was a great film. Sometimes the stakes don't have to be that high to really matter. All right, we're going to take a break here. Talking about trailers, we got a trailer for you from Bullets Bourbon Temptation Eyes. You can check out our latest saga, The Family Jewels, if you click the link in the description below, and we'll be back at you in 60 seconds. You know, it occurs to me, I don't know if that when I mute my mic, if the trailer goes out. I gotta rewind this and watch this broadcast and find out if the trailer, if you could hear the sound, because I muted the mic for a minute while I had a sip of water. But we are back with you here again, and if once again I may prevail upon you to check out the adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye, link is in the description below. We have our most recent issue out, our big 10th anniversary issue. As I mentioned before, you could check out the whole Bullets Bourbon saga on our last broadcast, our most recent broadcast, our 10th anniversary party. For 10 years, Bullets Bourbon has been in production. The saga has been rolled out by me slowly but surely over 10 years. I've been working over a hot stove for 10 years to bring you the Adventures of Bullets Bourbon comics, and the least you could do is at least partake of them. So they are there for your perusal. Check out my website, and you'll find a preview page from the latest issue. And we will continue on here. These are the newest trailers. These are the ones everybody's talking about. So let's get to these. First off, we'll do the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. GOTG Volume 3. All right, and I'll be frank in saying I'm not the biggest Guardians of the Galaxy fan, so make of this what you will. I liked the first one well enough. It was an experiment in the MCU to do something very different and wild and wacky and kind of off the bearings of what you'd see in a superhero film, and it was fine. I liked it, and probably not as much as many people, but I liked it. Second one, I think, is which is something that typically happens. And we were talking about Shazam before. I probably could have mentioned this then, but with Guardians 2, it's like that old trope, what always happens, which is once you give the director the second movie, you give them carte blanche to do whatever they want because the first one was successful, and they kind of always run it into the ground by putting too much of their own emphasis on it. Sometimes it's best to have the studio have a hand on the wheel. And I think that's kind of where it's going with Shazam 2, and I think that's kind of what happened with Guardians of the Galaxy 2. It was much darker and not as fun and lighthearted as the first film. It's some pretty deep, dark moments in that film. And I have a feeling that they're kind of doubling down on that here. It's going to go back to being a fairly dark. And, I really want to just see these guys have fun like they did in the first film, where they're trading quips and being slapstick and so forth. And you got some of that at the beginning of the second film, but it quickly started getting very morose, So in this case, we see Gamora still isn't back with the team because if you haven't seen the Avengers films, then you might not remember that Gamora is a different incarnation of Gamora from the past that never met the Guardians. So they're kind of on a path to try to find her and hopefully get her back in the team, which may or may not happen. Seeing, like I said, is how James Gunn is kind of a sucker for having these deeply disturbing emotional content in the movies. I'm beginning to think that maybe she won't come back, or if she does come back to the team, it's going to be only because of the death of somebody else. Now, I think James Gunn has hinted pretty pretty solidly that somebody is going to die on the team, possibly more than one character. Now, I think Drax is a good candidate because, again, I think that the actor whose name escapes me for the moment has also said this was his last film, suggesting that he's not coming back. Usually, when they say that, there's a reason for it, but it could be just that he feels that he's done, especially with his acting career not particularly taking off. It's Batista. That's what it is. Batista. He may be just wanting to cash in his chips and be done with acting. Who's to say? Groot, they already played the card of him dying a couple times. I think he's safe. Nebula, she's kind of the cousin, the sitcom cousin that came into the show late. I don't think they're going to bring her. I don't think they're going to kill her. Same thing they do with Mantis. They're probably safe. Will Peter Quill die? That's a possibility. They show Nebula carrying him, and I think that's what that is supposed to be in that scene. I'm not sure exactly what that is, but to show that in the trailer would really be a double fake, because you usually don't want to show something like that in a trailer if it's that important. So that leaves us with Rocket, which I think everybody is putting their chips on Rocket being the one to get killed because he's the fan favorite. Let's be honest. Everybody loves him. He's the crazy little guy with the bad attitude, the Rocket Raccoon. And it's quite possible he's going to be the one to kill off just for the emotional impact of it. And you can see in the trailer that Peter and Mantis are very broken up about it. Something terrible is happening in that scene. We get some flashbacks of Rocket where he's a little baby raccoon, and apparently that's when he gets experimented on and he gets his faculties the way he does now. We also see Adam Warlock, which I know a lot of people have been excited about this character. Again, not knowing a lot about the cosmic side of Marvel, I was never really too deeply into that side of the lore. I just have the vaguest of understanding about that character. He doesn't particularly look that imposing. I think he's one of Kirby's like god type characters where he like tries to make the most powerful dude ever and throws him into the mix. Again, doesn't really look particularly effective to me, but I could be wrong. So again, yeah, I really hope they're not going to kill Rocket. But again, if this team is completely finished and they're going their own separate ways after this film, you can expect probably somebody is not going to be down for breakfast. That's kind of just the way it is. What else to say? I don't know. I mean, like I said, I'm gonna see it. I'm kind of anticipating it being good. I don't know. I haven't seen Guardians of the Galaxy, the holiday special yet, so I might try to get on here and do a quick video for that. I don't know. It depends on how much substance is to it. If it's just sort of a quick half-hour laugh, then maybe I won't, but I'm saving it for a little closer down the line to Christmas, and haven't you got the tree up or anything? I want to wait a little longer for that. But let me know what you think about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Do you think this is going to be another dour kind of adventure for the Guardians? Do you agree that they should kind of lighten up, like I feel, and just do some slapstick stuff? The sequel was surprisingly dark and depressing, and I think this one is going to be surprisingly dark and depressing as well. Because again, the tone of the trailer kind of is 50-50. They start off with, them going to some kind of planet of, anthropomorphized animal people or something, and it's meant to be kind of lighthearted. And then you have the ending, which is, I thought, a pretty effective joke when Drax is like, he's going to kill people, and Peter's like, no, we're not going to kill anybody. And then Drax is like, well, we'll kill the one person nobody likes or something like that. That's what I mean. Now, they could be funny if they want to be. And if they kept with that tone, I wouldn't be like dreading the Guardians movies and projects and stuff if they didn't always have to have that dark element of like in the last film, Peter's father is fathering all kinds of children and then trying to kill them or something. It's pretty dark. You had Groot, baby Groot, being abused and so forth. You had what was Peter's adoptive father's name there being killed. I mean, it feels like there's a lot of dark and like I said, there's a sort of emotionally dark stuff that these films seem to be making you go through. That's my opinion. I'm not sure if that's exactly how this one's going to turn out, but I think so. And I feel somewhat put off by it. All right, so let's move on now to our final story of the evening. This is the one everybody's been waiting for, or have they? Have they? The usual suspects are out, of course, bemoaning how terrible this film was going to be. They've been saying it before it even began, but Indiana Jones 5, the newest and most probably final addition to the classic Indiana Jones saga, titled Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Now, I love this title. I think the title sounds great. Everybody and their brother is trying to, the Dial of Destiny. What was that? That's a cool title. Let me tell you, that's a cool title. I like that. And apparently, when this trailer came out, of course, the biggest complaint always is, well, it's too late, and Harrison Ford's too old. He's pushing 80, and maybe it was time to retire this character, and so on and so forth. I think he still looks remarkably good for a man of his age. I mean, this is not something that it's kind of hard to see him picking it up. I mean, I don't really want to, talk down on anyone, but I mean, I seen the most recent trailer for Picard, and it does feel like, the further along these guys are getting in age, the more it's getting difficult to, see that they can carry the story being somewhat physically there as a presence. I don't feel that way about Harrison Ford. I think he is still quite capable. Of course, there's a lot of CGI in this that's, going to make him look good, and I don't have any problem with that. One or two of the shots didn't look that great, I didn't think, but he still, is in reasonably good shape. That I think this isn't a problem. Now, the trailer, I got really excited by it. Now, we start off with Sala, which again, he hasn't been around since The Last Crusade, so we haven't been able to keep up with Sala. And nice to see a familiar face for one thing, but I'm pretty sure he's going to have something to do in this movie. Now, it's probably going to be about at the level of Last Crusade, where he's, maybe in it, like halfway through it, he has some big scene or something. Because I remember when John Rhys Davies was asked to be in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, he said he turned it down because it was just a cameo. So I imagine this is going to be a couple of scenes. I don't think he's just there for this one trailer moment. I think he's going to be back near the end or something for some kind of important situation or something. And again, that's the only presence from the past we see in this trailer. I really would hope that they would bring back Karen Allen as Marion Ravenwood. Apparently, since they're both married, you would think she'd be in it, being married after Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Or are they going to pull a, Rocky Balboa, where Marion died off screen and maybe now this is sort of the end of his life and he's alone again? They could possibly kill off Mutt because they didn't bring Shia LaBeouf back. I mean, that's a possibility. More likely, they're just not going to deal with Mutt, and maybe Karen Allen will get a cameo. I don't know exactly how they're going to handle that, but it would be disappointing if they go that far and, kill off legacy characters like that. That's what I think is the most dangerous. Now, there are other things that people are complaining out here. The fact that it is a time travel movie. Now, really, what else could you do but make it a time travel movie? Indiana Jones is best in his milieu when he is fighting the Nazis, or basically in that pulp era of the 30s/40s. And this film, I think, is supposed to be set in 1969. Now, we're basically, not only is the 60s not really an appropriate era for Indiana Jones, but we're basically knocking on the door of the 70s at this point. So people complaining and poo-pooing the fact that they're doing time travel, I don't see that as a problem. I honestly don't. Now, there's a lot of things to get to in this trailer, but let's start with the beginning. Now, Sala says that he misses the adventure and he misses the excitement, and Indy is like, well, those days are gone, and never to return. But this situation here, this series of events, Mads Mikkelsen is in the trailer. He's going to play the main villain. We see Antonio Banderas, who's also cast in this film, and Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Now, that's the one that is the difficult, the difficult thing to get by. Now, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, of course, nobody's darling. Nobody particularly likes her, but Hollywood seems to be trying desperately to give her a career. They already put her in Star Wars as the obnoxious droid. What was it, L7? And she was put in charge of the script for the most recent James Bond film. But again, I'm not going to rush to judgment on this here. I really seriously think that you have to wait and see what's going to happen. Now, the rumor, and of course, what was trending for the last 2 days was Doomcock was right. Words that I think I would never say in my life, but people are saying that because he sort of he made the announcement that this was going to be a time travel movie. Now, James Mangold has been on several occasions answering this charge that Indy is not going to be replaced in this film. He's not going to be handing the fedora over to Phoebe Waller-Bridge. He didn't even hand it over to his son at the end of the last movie. So these fears that I think Doomcock is the one that sort of started this rumor that she is going to supplant him during these time travel episodes so that he is going to be irrelevant and be uttered out of existence. Now, let me see. The claim itself is Indiana Jones will go back in time and erase himself, making it so that Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character Helena will have canonically completed all of Indy's adventures. The rumor goes so far as to say the film ends with scenes from the original 4 films, all of which now have Helena in them. Let's see. James Mangold said that this was not true on Twitter. Let me see. He says no one is taking over or replacing Indy or donning his hat, nor is he being erased through some contrivance. He never was, not in any cut or script, but trolls will troll. That's how they get their clicks. He continued, please don't exhaust me pointing out how once in a while a troll is right. Even a blind squirrel finds a nut now and then. All one has to do is look at set photos and interviews, and you get enough info to make wild guesses about a movie plot. The difference between trolling and everyone else is they're trying to make money off your feelings about other films and culture war politics. They push controversial guesses as coming from sources to gin up clicks. Let it go. This is kind of what I've been feeling all along. Now, like I said, everybody and their brother is making good coin by having furious takes about how terrible this movie will be and how they're going to ruin the franchise and this and that. Now, it could all well be true. I mean, none of us have seen the movie yet, but we all know that Disney is not exactly trustworthy. But I, for my part, have a modicum of confidence in Mangold. Now, the only film I seen of his was Logan, which I honestly didn't like. But, he's not a hack like J.J. Abrams. He's not a let's subvert expectations like Roundhead Ryan Johnson. I think it's in sound hands. Now, Harrison Ford also is not going to come back to a film, I don't think, which is going to completely disrespect this character. Now, he's not a fan of Han Solo. We know that. So he wasn't really going to go to bat for the best version of Han Solo. Although arguably, I think his version of Han Solo in the sequel trilogy was the best of the 3. I think they obviously completely ruined Luke's character, and they didn't really do Princess Leia any favors. But I think Harrison Ford is not going to he's not going to agree to be in a film that's going to ostensibly be his Star Wars The Last Jedi. I don't think he's going to agree to get into this film on those terms. So again, I don't think any of these rumors and things have any weight. Now, something else that I have to say is, like I said, there is so many people just trying to trash this film literally years before it was completed. And of course, nobody has seen it yet. But that's because there is this, and I've said this about Star Wars as well, there is this segment of the fandom, if you want to call them fandom, that they can never be satisfied with a sequel. You know what I mean? These films are never going to be as good as the originals. The original trilogy of Star Wars, the original trilogy of Indiana Jones, they are not going to be surpassed. So if you're going into this film thinking, well, this one is going to be the best of the saga, or this one's going to be on par with Raiders, or this is going to blow me away, you best temper your expectations, because not only is time a factor, changing, writers, the actor, things change, and you're not going to get that exact same sense from this adventure as you did in the original trilogy. If you do not debuse yourself of those notions, you're in for a world of hurt. So I don't know if some are just naive enough to think that. But I mean, as I said on Twitter, you could have Orson Welles come back from the grave, offer Harrison Ford the Fountain of Youth, and you're still not going to get a film as great as Raiders. And people seem to hold on to this expectation that it's going to. Now, let's talk about Crystal Skull for a second. Now, I liked Crystal Skull, and you find that the original reviews that were coming out of it, both fan and critic reviews, were very positive. Everybody seemed to like it at first. Now, a lot of people were saying, well, it's not as good as Raiders and Last Crusade and so forth, but it was generally accepted as being good. Then, of course, you had the internet phenomenon, which is, oh, it's terrible, Mud is swinging with the monkeys. And then you had the refrigerator scene, which was, I questioned it myself when I seen the movie. I was like, well, why are they doing this, really? But it's really not anything that is as outlandish as some of the things that went on in the Indiana Jones movie, since there's such as a minecart chase that had the laws of gravity basically bent for them, and the rubber raft falling out of the airplane. There are things in the Indiana Jones franchise that you have to understand are not going to be the most believable. But it fell in with the Indiana Jones saga well. There was the creepy ant scene. There's always a creepy, insect or animal scene. There's the MacGuffin destroying the villain of the piece. There's the vehicle chase. There's Indiana Jones doing his typical archaeological stuff at the beginning with a classroom and so forth. And it felt like it was very much a part of the franchise. Now, was it better than any of the original three? I would say no. I guess probably 75% of the Indiana Jones fandom would say no. But as long as it was a fitting, you know, episode in the saga, which it was, it fit. And so I feel like this is going to be the same thing. And so people already raging and pulling out their hair and how terrible this is going to be, if it's only as good as Crystal Skull, I'll be satisfied, because it's never going to be as good as the original three. And that's quite honestly what these fans are waiting for, is just the ability to complain. A lot of these reviews were already written. They just got to fill in some particulars. They already are going to trash it. They're already going to say that Ford is too old. They're going to say that the CGI is not great. They're going to say the storyline involves Phoebe Waller-Bridge too much. If you're going to ruin it for yourself, it's going to be a bad movie. But if you're going to go in it with a objectively open mind, you may enjoy it. Now, that's what I intend to do. Now, let's talk about a few more particulars of the trailer before we close out here. Another thing is the line, "I don't believe in magic." This struck fans the wrong way as well. I seen Jeremy John's review. I didn't watch too many reviews of the trailer, but I did see his, and he did bring that up as well. Again, I don't find this to be a problem, because there are a couple of outs. Now, on the one hand, now I've said this a thousand times, but Indiana Jones' character arc has been the same in every movie Honestly, with the exception of Crystal Skull, where he did seem to believe in the power of the Crystal Skull or whatever. He even says in the film something like, "Oh, I believe. That's why I'm down here and you're up there." But the character arc is always he's skeptical. He doesn't believe in the mumbo jumbo and the hocus pocus. But then when the time comes, he becomes a theologian. He becomes a true believer, and he knows what to do because the powers are evident to him. To close his eyes with the ark, to drink from the right grail. He knows this stuff, and he becomes a believer. Now, again, they've beat that horse very well in the original trilogy. The same thing with Shankara stones. It was he wanted them because they were good luck rocks, but then when push came to shove, he knew the special magic words to make them glow and get rid of Mola Ram. So it could be that they're just trying to recapture that here, and I don't think that's the answer. I think probably what the other option is he says he doesn't believe in magic. Well, this is possibly not a Christian artifact. I wouldn't call the power of God magic. So, you know, he's referring to something that's an artifact that has powers that doesn't involve Christianity and the Judeo Christian heritage. Then I don't think him being skeptical of it is necessarily a bad thing. So I don't know what culture has a religious artifact that is going to be conducive to time travel, but again, it might not be a Christian one, which might naturally lead him to be skeptical. So again, we've got to hold off on that and see the movie, see what happens. We see the he's on horseback. That CGI shot is terrible, to be honest with you. That's one of the few. He's on a train with the what's his name, Toby Jones, hanging off it. We see the cockpit of some kind of submarine or something, which is meant to evoke the Millennium Falcon, which I thought was pretty cute. And then we see this. Let me see. I got this queued up for you, which is, of course, the deep fake scene of young Indy, where he's apparently in Nazi garb again. I guess he did this several times during his life. This will be like the third time. Every movie where he fights a Nazi, he's going to wear the Nazi disguise. But again, there's nothing to complain about with this CGI. I think it looks great. He looks like he did from, like, say, I would say probably this was like Raiders era. Harrison Ford, they took this from. And, once again, we have some scenes of him with the leather jacket and the fedora that are CGI. Looks pretty well with the deep fake. What I think, a lot of people are so worried that they're going to carry on with Phoebe Waller-Bridge as the new Indiana Jones or the new Indiana Jones surrogate or something. I don't think that's going to happen. I think what you're going to see is they're getting so good with this deepfake technology, as they did with Mark Hamill and The Mandalorian. I think 10 years from now, you're going to find another Indiana Jones movie and another Star Wars movie with the original cast. I think that's where this is going. People are terrified. Oh, they're going to remake the Star Wars original trilogy. They're going to hand off Indiana Jones to somebody else. Why would they do that when they know they're not going to get any fans to back that? Now, they tried doing deep fake with Grand Moff Tarkin and Princess Leia in Rogue One. That was good, I thought, but it was, of course, that was in its infancy. They're getting better at it, and I think within 10 years, you're going to see that's what the movies are going to be. I don't think we're going to see a continuation of the Solo verse, the Solo movie. I think they realized they tried that, and they really they didn't strike gold like they did with Ewan McGregor and Star Wars. If you get the right young actor to carry on for an established actor, it's one thing, but it's pretty difficult to find that that actor that can plug into that character as the original actor played it. So I think this is what they're going to do going forward, and I'm all for it. I think it's a great idea. We'll be able to continue on with these characters, and they're going to look like they originally did. Now, is that cheating? I don't think so. I think their likenesses are so well known by us. We're going to know if they're recast. It's going to feel like cheating. if you have the right story, as luckily they did when they did Rogue One, and hopefully as they do here, and The Mandalorian, it'll turn into something that we can really get behind. I'm not sure we're going to know that until, again, if they make these plans sort of concrete. Also, let's see, we see Indy with the whip again, and there was like a car chase or something. There's a horseback chase in a crowd with a bad guy. Looks like J. Jonah Jameson. This is what happens when he doesn't get pictures of Spider-Man. He goes off and tries to fight Indiana Jones. Like I said, there's some undersea stuff. You see Indiana Jones under the water or something in one scene. You see the end of it with him and Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and we get the confirmation that that's his goddaughter, which I'm guessing means that that's Marcus's granddaughter. I'm guessing that's who that character is supposed to be, where they're trying to get a character so important to that's, so close to Indy. I'm guessing they're going to try to evoke Marcus's memory with that, making her his granddaughter, I suppose. But again, I really enjoy the trailer. The last scene is basically a joke. I think it would have came off a lot better if Indy was probably like 20 years younger. That joke, because it's that dyed in the wool Indiana Jones / Han Solo type humor where he's in over his head, and he pulls it off. But I mean, I kind of feel like, at least it's not the damn, I thought that was closer type thing. You know what I mean? It's a little more in line with just him doing the old fashioned, I'm in over my head and let me get out of here. So again, I liked it. I'm looking forward to it. I imagine we're going to get another trailer before the movie comes out. The movie will be out next summer. And again, like I said, people have already made up their minds on this film. I am not going to listen to any of them. And of course, it very well could be a terrible movie, but we're going to have to wait and see. And I hope you're on my side here with keeping your mind open to it and seeing if it is going to actually be good. I hope it's a good closure to the series. You know what I mean? The last film could have been a good closer. The film before that could have been a good closer. Last Crusade with them riding off into the sunset. I don't think anything will ever top that. But then again, Indy getting older and gotten married to Marion was also a good way to end the series, close it out. What are they going to come up now with to close out the show? I mean, like I said, hopefully Marion's back and we get a little something more with Sala, and maybe we'll have that nice family ending again. But it's kind of hard to see where they're going to go from here, where they're not going to just redo the ending of Last Crusade or Crystal Skull. It will be interesting to see. All right, so let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you for joining us once again for another stellar edition of the Torch News Roundup, Johnny Torch Live program. We will see you again, hopefully, in the near future. I can't think of anything else that we're going to be reviewing, but if there's any more trailers or anything else coming out, I'm sure we'll get to them. So until next we meet, this is Johnny Torch reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.